Quick question. What do LeBron James, Steph Curry, and Nikola Jokic have in common? If you answered MVP trophies and championship rings, you'd be wrong. If you guessed none of them have as big a contract as the second best player on the Boston Celtics, you'd be absolutely correct. So how on earth did Jaylen Brown, and not one of those present-day NBA legends, ink the largest contract in NBA history this summer? Stick around as we attempt to explain how and why Jaylen Brown became the Supermax contract champion. Jaylen Brown was named to the 2023 All-NBA second team. To the casual fan, this honor is just a cool way of recognizing that a player had a great season regardless of how his team finished. But to some NBA players, making any of the 3 All-NBA teams can be like winning a lottery ticket, and they can thank Chris Paul for that. In 2016, Chris Paul was the president of the National Basketball Players Association and helped set the qualifications for eligibility for Supermax contracts. Through Paul's efforts, the Supermax contract was negotiated into the NBA's collective bargaining agreement between the owners and the players. In short, the quickest way a player becomes eligible for a Supermax contract extension is if he's completed at least 7 years of service and is named to an All-NBA team, either the previous season or both years before it. This is why up-and-coming stars and players not quite at the level of long-established superstars like LeBron and Steph are starting to make mega bucks. No one doubts that Jaylen Brown is one of the best players in the league. In the Ringer's 2023 rankings of the top 100 players in the league, Brown checked in at number 22. They summed up his talents best when they described him as a jump-out-of-the-gym all-star wing who defends multiple positions and has cemented himself as one of the top big-game scorers in basketball. Brown came into the league in 2016 with a reputation as an elite defensive player on the wing who could guard just about anyone. To this day, he remains one of the best defensive players around. He also put in the work on the offensive end and gradually transitioned from a steady and reliable 14 points per game NBA starter to elite bucket getter and devastating transition threat, averaging 26.6 points per game, good for 9th in the league this past season. He worked his way up to becoming an above-average outside shooter and rebounds at a solid rate for an NBA wing. Turnovers have always been Jaylen Brown's Achilles heel. He's earned a reputation for playing too fast at times and doesn't have the tightest handles. He has a tendency to over-dribble with his left hand into traffic, where defenders can swipe the ball away. The league is full of detailed scouting reports that all reach the same conclusion about Brown. He can't go left. The Warriors sniffed this out in the 2022 NBA Finals. Draymond Green has gone on record as saying the Warriors' game plan was to have their guards force Brown to his left and have a corner defender trap him as he gathered himself, or have Green attack him with a blindside trap as Brown attempted his spin move back to the right side away from the double team. While Brown was the Celtics' best player in that series, the Warriors' plan worked well enough. The Celtics turned the ball over an incredible 22 times in Game 6 as the Warriors took the series and won yet another NBA championship. Brown poured in a team-high 34 points, but was responsible for 5 of those Celtics turnovers. The Miami Heat are renowned just as much for their attention to detail as they are for their hustle and grit. Never was this more apparent than in the 2023 Eastern Conference Finals. With fellow Celtics star Jason Tatum injuring his ankle on the first possession of Game 7, the Heat doubled down their efforts to force Jaylen Brown to his left, just as the Warriors had done a year earlier. Brown's ball handling issues were at the forefront of his underwhelming performance in Game 7. He turned the ball over an eye-popping 8 times while scoring 19 points on 8 for 23 shooting, including a putrid 1 for 9 mark from three-point range. While his turnover problems need to be resolved ASAP, Jaylen Brown has a solid reputation around the league as a thoughtful and hard-working player. Throughout his 7 seasons in Boston, he's improved his numbers in virtually every major category, nearly every single season. His scoring and rebounding averages in his last 3 seasons have nearly doubled those of his first 3+ years in the league. He's also raised his free throw percentage by roughly 10% in the same time frame. His mid-range pull-up game, ability to get out and score in transition, and nearly automatic interior scoring have made him one of the most lethal wings in the game. Very few players in the game today possess Brown's combination of power and control. Despite any flaws and a very high-profile poor performance against the Heat, no one doubts that Jaylen Brown is a top 25 player in the league. And at only 26 years old, he still has the potential to rise up and join the truly elite players in the game, like LeBron, Steph, KD, Giannis, the Joker, and Luka. But the $304 million Supermax question is he worth it? The short answer is yes, but the longer answer is that it's complicated. The Boston Celtics really had no choice but to re-sign Jaylen Brown to a Supermax deal. They've made it at least as far as the Eastern Conference Finals in 5 out of the last 7 seasons. Brown and Jason Tatum form one of the best duos in the league. Tatum is only 25 years old and widely considered a top 10 talent and the Celtics' best player. Celtics president Brad Stevens knew that keeping this dynamic duo together would give the franchise the best chance at winning championship number 18 and beyond. The Jaylen Brown Supermax signing wasn't even the first bold move Brad Stevens made this offseason. Just before the draft, the Celtics were part of a 3-team blockbuster trade that saw them ship heart and soul point guard Marcus Smart to Memphis, while receiving back 7'3" star center Kristaps Porzingis from the Wizards. While Marcus Smart was a core member and the Celtics' emotional leader, Kristaps Porzingis will give the Celtics something going forward that they did not have this past season: points in the paint. In fact, Porzingis averaged nearly as many points per game as Celtics big man Grant Williams, Al Horford, and Robert Williams combined. He also provides a supersized rim protector who adds another dimension Boston has lacked the last few years. And while Marcus Smart was a former Defensive Player of the Year, Boston will have a capable duo splitting time at the point in 2023 Sixth Man of the Year winner Malcolm Brogdon and defensive specialist Derek White. Big money in the NBA is nothing new. It's a testament to the league's prolonged success. Every few years, new signs of just how far the league has come reveal themselves and blow people's minds. The fact that Jaylen Brown's deal is more than half of what LeBron James has made in his entire 20 seasons in the league is just the latest sign. NBA legend Tracy McGrady touched on this point recently when speaking of Brown's deal. He told Fox Sports show The Herd, "I mean, that's the state of the NBA. You can't hate on it. That's just where we are. He's well deserving of getting that contract based off of how he played over these last few years, how he played last year. He's well deserving of that, so shout out to him for getting 5 years at $304 million. But the league's top heavy right now, so if you want those top tier players for your team, that's what you're gonna have to pay." NBA talking heads and fans can argue all day long over Jaylen Brown's worthiness of his massive record-breaking deal, and maybe no player is worth that kind of money. With that said, this is nothing new, considering the current financial state of the NBA. Yes, Brown is now set to become the highest paid player in the sport, but his contract will almost certainly be topped by another high-caliber star in 2024. The dollar amounts of Supermax deals increase in proportion to the salary cap, and with the NBA thriving and seemingly fully recovered from any dips in revenue incurred during the COVID years, remember the bubble? The future will surely include continued salary cap raises and more mind-blowing contract extensions. Who will get the next Supermax deal and how much will it be? The smart money says we won't have to wait too long to find out.